From Newsweek, return of the Pirates of the Caribbean. Piracy jumps 163% amid Venezuela crisis. So there you go. Piracy, don't go sailing a boat down by Venezuela. From The Guardian, more than 500,000 Venezuelans fled to Ecuador this year. UN says 500,000 Venezuelans have bailed out. About 547,000 citizens of the crisis-stricken South American country have entered Ecuador. Now, they have to get all the way across Colombia to get there, too, since January. Mostly through, that's only since January, by the way. 547,000 since January have left Venezuela. It says to escape rampant crime and political violence, a collapsing economy, and several shortages of food and medicines. That is nearly 10 times the number of migrants and refugees who attempted to cross the Mediterranean into Europe over the same period. And that's only into Ecuador. Now listen to this. France 2.4. Lack of food pushes 2.3 million to flee Venezuela. So it's not just 547,000 who went to Ecuador. 2.3 million to flee Venezuela. The United Nations says the Venezuelans have fled to Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, and Brazil. Let socialism take over, and this is the inevitable result of what is going to happen. From Zero Hedge, U.S. abandons oil sanctions to avoid owning Venezuela's collapse. Smart move by our president. They are not going to sanction their oil industry, which is the only thing that keeps them alive, because they are going to collapse, and we don't want to be the ones that own it. The downfall of Venezuela's chief industry, coupled with IMF predictions that inflation in the country will skyrocket to 1,000,000% by the end of this year, have created an unusual scenario in which Maduro may even welcome U.S. sanctions on its oil sector. As Venezuela's economy continues to unravel, leading to surging prices and rampant hunger, Maduro could try to pin the blame on sanctions. If you break it, you buy it, said George David Banks, a former international energy and environmental advisor to President Trump. The White House doesn't want to own this crisis. The United States has sanctioned individuals in Venezuela, including Maduro, prohibited the purchase and sale of any Venezuelan government debt, including any bonds issued by PDVSA, which is their oil industry, and banned the use of Venezuela-issued digital currency known as the petro. But oil sector sanctions are viewed as the most powerful penalty remaining, and the one that Trump admin is more hesitant than ever to use. There's already a humanitarian crisis, but we don't want to own that. The Maduro government owns that, Banks said. We don't want to lose the people of Venezuela, and you don't want to pursue a policy that jeopardizes that. David Goldwyn, president of Goldwyn Global Strategies and a former special envoy and coordinator for international energy affairs at the U.S. State Department, speculated that it would take extreme action, such as a military assault on a civilian rebellion, for the U.S. to now impose oil sector sanctions. They'd really have to do something major, in other words. The path ahead for Venezuela's oil sector has likely never been less certain, and it remains to be seen what a full collapse of an economy looks like. It is clear, however, that the United States wants to avoid blame for accelerating that collapse and has abandoned, at least for now, consideration of oil sanctions. When Venezuela's oil sector hits rock bottom, the U.S. does not want to be accused of dragging it there. Good job. Our president is using his brains on this one. From The Independent, Brazil breaks its own record. Brazil breaks its own record for number of murders in a single year as deaths hit 63,880. Now listen to this, because I did some statistics checks on my own after I read you just a couple lines. Brazil has broken its own record for the number of murders in a single year after the South American country saw 63,880 people slain in 2017, a rise of 3% over the previous year. I checked the statistics. I went to gun laws in Brazil, and I also checked the population of the U.S. and the number of murders in the U.S. Here we go. In Brazil, all firearms are required to be registered with the minimum age for gun ownership being 25. It is generally illegal to carry a gun outside of a residence, and special permit granting the right to do so is granted to certain groups such as law enforcement officers. Very strict gun laws in Brazil. Here's another comment. There were a total of 17,250 reported murder and non-negligent manslaughter cases in the United States in 2016. So we have 17,250 as opposed to their 63,880. And guess what? The U.S. population is 325.7 million. Population of Brazil is only 207.7 million. So they are geometrically higher than we are. And if you took out all of the liberal cities, Detroit and Chicago, Washington, D.C., St. Louis, if you took them out, we have one of the lowest murder rates in the entire world in the United States of America. One of the lowest murder rates, apart from the liberals who restrict gun ownership. So there you go.